So we just talked about the flight path, the trajectory, right? The process. Tolerate, accept, celebrate, participate. Okay, like let's burn that into our minds. That's the way it always goes. Tolerate, accept, celebrate, participate. So here it is again, okay? From the Post-Millennial. It says, in response to a Texas state representative announcing that he will file legislation to ban drag shows from having children in their audience, California State Senator Scott Wiener proposed offering drag queen curriculum in schools. Responding to a tweet from Representative Brian Slayton of Texas in which he announced the legislation, Wiener wrote, and it's just, I mean, the fact that his name is Wiener, it's just so perfect. He said, this guy just gave me a bill idea offering Drag Queen 101 as part of the K-12 curriculum. Attending Drag Queen Storytime will satisfy the requirement. Okay, now, you might think, you see the tweet there, you might think this is slightly tongue-in-cheek, and even if it is, it's still horrifying and disgusting, and this guy's a groomer scumbag. But, oh no, this is not a joke. This is not a joke from this guy. He will introduce that legislation. And we'll have more examples of other legislation that he's introduced before, just to show you that he could put his money where his mouth is. In fact, we'll continue. It says in 2020, Wiener authored a bill that would end discrimination against LGBT people, quote unquote, by providing exemptions from the sex offender registry. The bill, SB 145, made exemptions for people who are convicted of certain offenses as long as the person convicted is no more than 10 years older than the minor, with the minor being no younger than 14. This bill would exempt from mandatory registration under the Act a person convicted of certain offenses involving minors if the person is not more than 10 years older than the minor, and if that offense is the only one requiring the person to register. And there were some other ones as well. More recently, Wiener authored a bill that would authorize the creation of safe consumption sites within cities and counties. So that's another one, is the bill where people can go and use drugs. Also, Wiener, alongside fellow state Senator Todd Gloria, authored a bill that passed back in 2017 that removes federal penalties and prison time for people that knowingly expose a sexual partner to HIV. So prior to Wiener coming along, he was, unfortunate phrasing there. Prior to this guy, it was illegal in the state of California, as it still is, I think, at least in some states in the country, and it should be in every state, to knowingly infect somebody with HIV. As in, if you have sex with somebody and you're HIV positive, you have a legal responsibility to tell them ahead of time. Of course, that should be the law. But now, thanks to Wiener, you can intentionally and knowingly infect somebody with HIV, and it's not a crime. So that's where this guy's coming from, and that's why when he says that he's going to make a bill requiring mandatory drag queen classes for children, oh, he'll do it. And I repeat what I said yesterday, that I very much welcome Democrats making this their new cause. Okay, I don't welcome these kinds of classes in public school, of course. Though honestly, I mean, if you're in California, living in California, number one, and number two, you're in California and you have your kids in public school in California, then I mean, what do you expect? Like, that's almost inexcusable at this point. But what I welcome and what I want is for the Democrats to explicitly come out to say what they already think, what we know they think, which is that this is a good thing, and to circle the wagons around it so that everybody else can see. Another great mask-off moment for the left. So that all the normal people out there, however many still exist, can see this and like, you can decide. Do you really? Is this what you want? Is this what you believe in? You want to vote for people, support people who think that we should mix drag queens and kids? Another part of the process, aside from tolerate, accept, celebrate, participate, the other thing that you find is there's this kind of stages of denial, or how denial kind of morphs into defense. So that's the other thing we always see with the left. So first, when it came to this, drag queens and kids. Originally, they said, it's not really happening. It's not happening. That's not really a thing. This is all, it's a right-wing conspiracy theory. There might be a few examples of it, but that's very, very rare. And it's not a big deal. It's not really happening. And then how quickly we go from that to, it is happening, but it's good. It's not happening. Okay, it is happening, but it's good. And then that goes to, it is happening, it's good, and it's mandatory. So we go from not happening to mandatory. And that process can play out very quickly. That can happen within the span of like hours, okay? And I think we're going to see that here because the left has been ramping up, as we've been covering on this show. Libs of TikTok on Twitter has been doing a lot of work to reveal this. This is an increasing trend now on the left of drag queens and kids. And the worst iteration of that, the most evil form, of course, is when the kid is actually enlisted to be the drag queen. So here's something Libs of TikTok had. This is, I still don't know where, I'm not sure if we know where this happened, but some kind of bar. We have adults cheering on for a child drag queen. Let's see this for just a moment.
Let me tell you, one of the fiercest performers yet. You guys haven't seen nothing yet. Please give it up for the one, the only King of Queens!
Okay, so you can see that is an actual child that we're talking about. I can't even watch this. All right, you can turn it off. I mean, that's the kind of thing, you have to see it, because if you don't see it, then you won't believe it. Right? I think there's still a lot of people, if you told them that this is happening, that child drag queens are dancing for adults at gay clubs, you told that, say it's an average person on the street, they're going to say it's not. They're not going to believe you. They're not going to believe it's happening. And that's why the work that accounts like Libs of TikTok are doing, that's why it's important to see this is actually happening. This is a real thing, okay? And it's not just a couple of incidents. It's happening all over the place. This is basically this is Baka-Bazi, okay? Which is Afghanistan, and a lot of our veterans who spent time in Afghanistan, unfortunately, confronted this and were made very much aware of this tradition in the culture among the men in Afghanistan, Baka-Bazi, or quote unquote dancing boys, and that's where men in Afghanistan will sit around and they'll watch little boys dressed up as girls dancing for them, and then of course there's a lot of sexual abuse and child rape that happens as well, which by the way is kind of redundant to even say that, because the event itself is child sexual abuse already. And you hear about that in Afghanistan. I remember hearing about that for the first time when we first went into Afghanistan. And in this country, people were horrified. And you had veterans coming home from Afghanistan traumatized by having witnessed it, especially witnessed it, and they're not allowed to do anything about it. They're being instructed by their higher-ups that they can't stop it. Coming home traumatized because of that, and then what do you know, 15 years later, same damn thing is happening here. And it's being defended in the mainstream by leftists and Democrats. And let them defend it. Defend it loudly, loud and proud. Come on, you just come out and give us your argument. By the way, this is the same thing. Remember I said that when they propose something, it's up to them to explain it and defend it? Okay, you have to force them to do it? Because they're playing the same game with this, by the way. There was, I've seen a lot of this on Twitter, and one example is a Charlotte Clymer, who I think works for one of these human rights campaign, or one of these radical trans LGBT organizations, militant, and posing the question of, I really don't, I'm not sure, I don't understand why it's so wrong to mix children and drag queens. Could someone explain to me why it's wrong? So we've heard that a lot from the left. People with platforms, prominent people, saying, oh, well, I'm open to understanding why you guys object to it, but why don't you explain it? Okay, we shouldn't need to explain it, and we don't have to explain it. That should be, if it's not immediately obvious to you why it's wrong, then that says something very troubling about you. But also, let me flip that around. You are the one proposing this. You're the one, it's your side introducing this into the culture. You explain why we need to do it. Okay, you give us the defense of it. What's good about it? Why do kids need this? Kids we're getting along just fine. They're just being kids. They're playing. They're using their imaginations. They're living, innocent, childlike lives as they should. You're coming along and saying, oh, you know what they need? They need drag. So that's up to you to defend and explain, which you can't do so far. Or at least the defense is not anything that you'll say out loud. Because the real reason that you want to do it is that you have an actual agenda to sexualize children. You don't want to say that out loud yet. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.